So today, we're going to dive into a really powerful approach to healing from a workbook called The Fort That Holds. It asks this radical question: what if healing isn't about fixing something that's broken, but about building an internal structure that's strong enough to hold all of who you are? This entire system wasn't born from some abstract theory. It came from pure necessity. The author, Jimmy Thornburg, makes it really clear. This isn't some academic exercise. It's a survival tool. It's a life raft that was built in the middle of a storm, right when it felt like all the other rescue boats had failed. And that really sets the stage for a very different kind of healing journey. And this is the central question, isn't it? For so many people who've experienced complex trauma, the usual maps for healing, they just don't lead to solid ground. This workbook suggests that maybe we need to become our own architects. We have to design a structure from the ground up that can actually support who we are in all our complexity. Okay, so to really get our heads around this new architecture, we first have to look at the foundations it's built on. And, why some of the older models can feel so unstable, especially for trauma survivors. This quote right here, it reframes the entire goal. It's not about fixing a person who's broken. It's about building an internal fort, a structure that has the right foundations and enough rooms to hold all of it, the complexity, the pain, and all the different parts that make you you. And this slide just illustrates that difference so perfectly. On one hand, you have the traditional models that often treat healing like climbing a ladder, just a straight shot upward. But the fort introduces a spiral model. It gets that healing involves circling back, going deeper, and crucially, it sees our different internal voices not as a symptom to be cured, but as a resource to be understood. It honors them. So this whole spiral approach isn't just some nice metaphor. It's the actual design philosophy of the fort. It's the blueprint for how you build, and it's called SpiralLogic STEM. Okay, so what is SpiralLogic STEM? Well, it's designed to work with your nervous system, not against it. It completely rejects the idea that you should always be moving forward. Instead, it gives us a language for the way healing actually feels: recursive, layered, and deep. It honors the real rhythm of trauma. And this whole process is broken down into 3 really elegant movements. First, you look in, you just notice what's there without trying to fix or change anything. Then, you spiral up. This is the real work of moving through the complexity, revisiting old patterns with a new awareness. And finally, you flow out, re-engaging with your life, not as someone who's cured, but as someone who is deeply changed. It's a sustainable rhythm you can use for a lifetime of healing. All right, so if the fort is the structure, then who lives inside? Well, this is where we get to meet the whole concept of our internal voices. This quote introduces a core principle, something called voice sovereignty. The goal isn't to silence your inner critic or banish the angry part of you. Nope. It's to give each part of you a seat at the table and to honor the role it plays. The workbook argues that these voices aren't a sign that you're broken. They are the very building blocks of your inner strength. And to make this really concrete, think about it like this. Your critic isn't actually trying to hurt you. Its primary job is to analyze for flaws to keep you safe from being judged by others. Your protector is dedicated to your physical safety, even if it seems a little hypervigilant sometimes. And your inner child, that part holds your capacity for joy and wonder and vulnerability. Each one has a valid job. The goal is just to become a good leader for this internal team. So, we have the blueprint and we've met the residents. How does the actual construction begin? Well, it doesn't start with a hammer. It starts with a story. This is the foundational lighthouse exercise. And it's not about analyzing yourself, it's about embodying a narrative. You're prompted to tell yourself a story out loud about a guardian figure who has spent their entire life on watch. This guardian, this character, represents the protective parts of ourselves. The parts that stand vigil, that keep us safe from what they see as threats, often by keeping us away from the very core of who we are, the light that's inside the lighthouse. So in this story, a crisis happens, something that makes the old way of just guarding from the outside totally impossible. The guardian is forced to make a new choice, to do the one thing they've never ever done: go inside. And this is such a powerful metaphor for those moments in our own healing where we have to turn toward the very thing we've been protecting ourselves from. And what does the guardian find inside? Not the catastrophe they were afraid of. They find the light, the ember, the core of the self. And they realize their true job isn't just to guard the perimeter anymore, but to come inside and hold the center. It's just a really powerful way to begin integrating our most protective instincts. So what is the ultimate goal of all this building? Where does it all lead? Well, it's about shifting from a life of just survival to something much, much deeper. The workbook calls this remaining. It's not about reaching some finish line where you're finally healed. It's the art of inhabiting yourself fully. It's that moment when you stop trying to exile parts of yourself and instead you learn to live as an integrated whole, with all your voices contributing to the beautiful, complex system that is you. This is one of 2 promises the author makes, and it's aimed directly at the heart of anyone who has ever felt like a lost cause. It's a direct challenge to that nagging idea that some people are just beyond repair. And this is the second promise, and it's really the core message of the entire architecture. Your multiplicity, your trauma, your layers, they aren't a liability. They are what the fort is specifically designed to hold. You are not a problem to be solved, you are a reality to be held. And that's really the question we're left with. When you move beyond a life that's just defined by survival, what does that make possible? Well, the fort that holds suggests that what you can build is not just a shelter, but a home, a place from which you can finally truly live.